3 myths that I commonly hear about public speaking and presenting. The first one is that if you got good content, then that's all you need. Your audience will be engaged. Well, truth is, your audience won't be engaged if how you present that content isn't compelling. The second myth that I often hear is you gotta dumb it down in order for your audience to understand it. Look, your audience is super smart. It's not about dumbing it down. It's about making your content relatable. And the last one that I hear often is that your audience doesn't really want to participate in your presentation. They would rather sit there and let you just talk at them. Well, this might be the case for you, but it may not be the case for your variety of different learners that are sitting in that audience. So let's talk about each one of those myths and talk about what you can do instead. The first one, content. If your content is good, then you don't need to really worry about how you present your information. Well, here's the deal. Have you ever heard that phrase, what you say matters, but how you say it matters most? This is where that applies. So I'm going to give you one exercise to get you thinking about how you can present your information so that your audience remembers what you have to say and they stay engaged throughout the entire presentation. I'm going to teach you a simple tongue twister. It's called New York, and it goes like this. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. Now I'm going to point to you, I'm going to say one line, I'm going to point to you, and I want you to repeat it back. All right, here we go. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. Nice work. Let's do it one more time. You know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. Now, the really fun thing about tongue twisters is that you can play with them by speeding up or slowing down. You can exaggerate them. You can focus on over-articulating and enunciating, all of the fun things to really help you develop the muscles in your mouth and also for articulation. But today, we're going to play with that tongue twister. I gave you, that's your script, if you will, to play with objective. So I'm going to give you a little scenario here to get us started. And your script is, yes, you know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. Those are the words you're going to say and use for this exercise. The scenario goes like this. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are a parent. And if you are already a parent, amazing, you might relate to this scenario. And I want you to pretend that you have company coming over. Okay, so you've got about an hour before everyone gets there. You want the house looking really beautiful. And you walk by your child's bedroom and you peek inside and you notice it needs to be cleaned up. So you say nicely to your child, I need you to clean up your room. So I want you to try that with the text that I gave you, that tongue twister, inviting them this very first time to please clean up their room. Company's coming. So here we go. You know New York, you need New York. You know you need unique New York. Awesome. You leave, you go do a couple of things around the house, you come back 20 minutes later and it's still not clean. Okay. Use the same script. You got to get them to clean up that room. That's your objective. Here it goes. You know New York, you need New York. You know you need unique New York. Okay, great. I believe that they heard me this time. So now I'm going to go, get my cheese platter ready and make sure that the house is vacuumed. I'm making up the scenario in my head, but we've all hosted. Okay, you walk by your child's bedroom one more time. It is still not clean and people are going to be at your home in 10 minutes. And so this time is maybe going to sound a little bit different. So it's, you know New York, you need New York, you know you need unique New York. All right, that's the exercise. What I did there was I gave you a relatable scenario and you played an objective. You needed something to happen. You needed your child to clean up a bedroom. And every time that you walked by that bedroom and it wasn't done, there was a sense of perhaps urgency. So it's similar to when we have a script and we want to engage our audience. You need to be clear about what it is that you want from your audience. This is going to help you change your tonality, the inflection of your voice, and all that good stuff in order to get your objective met. So, for example, at the beginning in your introduction, maybe you want people to feel energized. So, you make sure that your tone is energized, your energy, your body language, everything that you do and how you present the information is very engaging. Perhaps you really need to people to understand the seriousness of another part of your presentation. It's now it's not about being energized. It's about like, we need to get down to business. This is serious. So you need them to understand how serious it is. So you change the inflection of your voice. So if you go through your entire presentation and you're intentional in that way, and you ask yourself the question, what do I need them to feel? What do I want from my audience in this moment? That is automatically going to help you with how you present your material. Okay, so the second myth is dumbing it down. If I dumb down the information for my audience, they'll better understand it. They won't. Your audience is super smart. Yes, you are the expert, but your audience is also smart and they can put things together pretty quickly. So to me, it's more about being concise. It's about simplifying the content and getting clear about what they need to know. It's not getting wrapped up in jargon and industry talk, but it's about really understanding who they are, what they know, what they don't know, and what this particular audience needs to know. Here's one thing I'm going to ask you to consider. I want you to consider who is the person in the room with the least amount of knowledge, or the person in the room who's the decision maker. And I want you to speak to that person. And again, it's not about dumbing it down, it's about clarity. And clarity is kindness. So how do we meet in the middle to make sure that everyone in the room feels like they're a part of the conversation? Well, we do that by directing it to that decision maker or to that person with the least amount of knowledge. Because oftentimes you are going to have an audience who either knows quite a bit about the topic that you're discussing and you're sharing some new insights, or maybe you're educating everyone at the same time, but there might be a few people in there that are your peers and understand the information. But what you don't want to do is leave people out of the conversation, because that is not going to drive what I imagine you want forward, which is to educate, inspire, and keep people curious about whatever your product or your service is, or that action that you're wanting them to take. Lastly, the myth that your audience doesn't want to participate. They do. And here's the thing. You might not want to participate in a presentation because that is your particular learning style. You might be more comfortable just getting a download from somebody else and listening. But there are some people in your room who need to interact with each other. They need to interact with your content. You need to pose questions that get them to think. So how do you do that? Let's think about ways that we can incorporate your audience in with engagement from the beginning of your presentation to the middle of your presentation to the end of your presentation. It could be through stories, quotes, questions, open-ended questions. You could get them raising their hands. You could do polls. We all have the tool in our pocket, our phones. So how do you get them using the instruments in the room? How do you use visuals and props to engage with your audience? Do you pull people up on stage? Do you have people in the audience partner with each other? Maybe exchange maybe you have an activity that's like 2 or 3 minutes in length. How do you get them engaged, and how are you reinforcing the learning? Is there a quiz that you give them? There are so many different ways that we can engage our audience and keep them a part of the conversation, because I would imagine your objective is to get them to leave this presentation not just remembering your content, but talking about it. And you can't do that if you have not properly engaged all the people in that room or on your virtual call. I'm Meridith, your public speaking go-to. And if you liked what you heard today, please go ahead and subscribe, like, and make sure to leave a comment in the comments below so that we can help each other out.